Welcome back to Cost of Being. I'm Alex. Today, we are going to dissect one of the most expensive myths in modern society. We are going to talk about why the American dream of homeownership is, for many, a mathematical nightmare that quietly destroys wealth rather than building it. Imagine for a moment a guy named Jason. At 28 years old, Jason did exactly what everyone told him was the adult thing to do. He bought his first house. He had worked hard, lived frugally, and saved $42,000 for a down payment. He was tired, truly exhausted, of the feeling that he was throwing money away on rent every month. His parents kept asking him when he was going to stop renting and finally start building equity. So, Jason bought a home for $420,000 in a suburb of Denver. He put down 10%. That's his entire $42,000 savings, and financed the rest at a 6.8% interest rate. On paper, it felt like a milestone. But let's look at the actual math of his mailbox. His mortgage payment was $2,470 a month. But a mortgage is just the beginning. Add in property taxes at $420, homeowner's insurance at $180, and a monthly HOA fee of $215. Jason's total monthly housing cost hit $3,285. Before he bought this house, Jason lived in a nice two-bedroom apartment only 8 minutes away from his office. His rent? It was $1,900. Jason didn't run the numbers. He just knew, the same way everyone knows, that buying is better than renting because rent is losing money. Fast forward 4 years. Jason has spent roughly $157,000 on housing costs. His home is now worth $445,000. A very modest gain in a market that cooled off significantly. Here is the invisible tragedy. If Jason had stayed in that apartment for $1,900 and invested the difference, the $1,385, he saved every month into a simple index fund, returning 8%, he would have $81,000 in investments today. Add back his original $42,000 down payment, which would have grown to $57,000 in that same fund. And Jason's total liquid net worth would be $138,000. That Jason's home equity is $93,000. His alternative wealth would have been $138,000. Jason is $45,000 poorer because he bought that house. He didn't build wealth. He destroyed it. And the worst part? He still thinks he made a smart move. Because nobody ever showed him the math at Cost of Being. We analyze the true price of the lives we lead. And the rent versus buy decision is the one most people get catastrophically wrong. If you are renting and feeling the pressure to buy, or if you've already bought and the math feels off, you need to understand the 5% rule. It is the break-even calculator that the real estate industry, mortgage brokers, and banks do not want you to use. We have been conditioned to believe that rent is throwing money away. But here is the reality. When you own a home, you are also throwing money away. You are just throwing it in 3 different directions that are much harder to see than a rent check. The 5% rule captures the total unrecoverable costs of homeownership. These are the dollars that leave your pocket and never come back to build your equity. They are gone, forever. Just like rent. To master the 5% rule, we look at 3 specific pillars of unrecoverable costs. First, property taxes. This usually averages about 1% of the home's value per year. You pay the government for the right to stay on your land. This money does not pay down your loan. It does not increase your home's value. It is a pure expense. Second, maintenance and repairs. Houses are constantly deteriorating. Roofs leak. Furnaces die. Pipes burst. A common rule of thumb is that you will spend 1% of the home's value every year just to keep the house in the same condition it was in when you bought it. This isn't an investment. It's the cost of keeping the roof over your head. Third, the cost of capital. This is the most misunderstood part. It's either the interest you pay to the bank or the opportunity cost of your cash. If you have $100,000 sitting in the walls of a house, that is money that is not earning 7 or 8% in the stock market. When you blend mortgage interest and lost investment gains, this cost typically hovers around 3.1% for taxes, 1% for maintenance, 3% for the cost of capital. That equals 5%. The math is simple. Take the price of a home, multiply it by 5%, and divide by 12. If you can rent a comparable home for less than that number, you are financially better off renting. Let's apply this to the real world. In a city like San Francisco, the median home price is $1.2 million. 5% of that is $60,000 a year, or $5,000 a month. But you can rent a comparable property there for about $3,200. Renting is a massive financial win. Yet people still feel guilty for not owning. In Austin, Texas, the median price is $550,000. The 5% break even is $2,290. Median rent is $2,100. Again, renting wins. Only in markets like Cleveland, Ohio, where a home might cost $230,000, does the math flip. There, the 5% rule gives you a break even of $950. But rent is $1,200. In Cleveland, buying actually makes financial sense. The 5% rule reveals that in most major American cities, especially on the coasts, renting is actually the smarter wealth-building play. Now, critics will say, but Alex, my house will go up in value. Let's look at the data. Nobel Prize-winning economist Robert Shiller found that the average real return on housing, after adjusting for inflation, is only about 1% per year over the long term. Not 8% like stocks. 1%. People overestimate housing returns because they forget the hidden killers. Transaction costs are massive. Selling a home costs 5 to 6% in commissions alone. On a $500,000 house, that's $30,000 gone in an instant. If you sell within 5 years, those costs will likely eat every penny of your appreciation. Then there's the opportunity cost of the down payment. Your money is trapped. It's sitting there, slowly growing at 1% plus inflation, while it could have been compounding at 8% in a diversified portfolio. Over 30 years, that difference is the difference between retiring comfortably or struggling to make ends meet. Every dollar you lock inside a wall is a dollar that isn't working for you in the most productive sectors of the global economy. Think about the volatility as well. When you invest in an index fund, you are diversified across hundreds of companies. When you buy a house, you are betting a huge portion of your net worth on one single asset, on one single street, in one single neighborhood. If a major employer leaves town, or if the local school district declines, your investment takes a hit that you have no control over. So, when does buying make sense? It makes sense when the math works. It makes sense when you are certain you will stay for at least 10 years. And it makes sense when you understand that you are making a lifestyle purchase, not a financial investment. That if you want to own a home because you want to plant a garden, paint the walls purple, and never deal with a landlord again, that is a perfectly valid choice. But make that choice with your eyes open. Don't do it because you think you're building wealth while renters are throwing money away. Renting is not losing. Renting is buying flexibility. Renting is buying the ability to invest your capital elsewhere. It is paying for a service, just like you pay for a gym membership or a Netflix subscription. You don't feel guilty about not owning the gym, do you? You pay for the utility it provides. Housing is exactly the same. The goal of this channel, Cost of Being, is to help you see the hidden price tags on your decisions. Don't follow the narrative created by people who want to sell you a mortgage or a house. Follow the numbers. The numbers don't have an agenda. They don't care about your ego or your parents' expectations. They only care about your freedom. If this deep dive changed how you look at your housing situation, hit that like button and subscribe. I've spent the time doing the math so you don't have to. I want you to be the person who understands the true cost of being who you want to be. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one.